What's up, y'all? It's AVC from the editing area. So basically, I started out this video not wanting to do an ideal offseason for the Suns. I was more so going to do an offseason outlook, but then I decided ideal offseason is way more fun, so that's what I decided to do. So just bear with me as I slowly figure out in this video that that's what I want to do. Thanks so much, y'all. Bye. What's going on, everybody, and a special welcome to my Phoenix Suns fans. Welcome to the NBA offseason. Unfortunately, you guys got bounced last night. It was tough, not the way I thought it was going to go personally. I don't think many people thought it was going to go in a 4-0 sweep like that, but with the offseason here for you guys, we need to talk about what the Phoenix Suns can possibly do to try to build themselves back up for next season. And that's what I'm here to do. For those of you that follow the channel, I do a little series called Ideal Offseason. You guys should go watch it. It's where I take a look at some of the teams that didn't make the playoffs or anything, and I try to reconstruct their roster over what would ideally be the 2024 offseason to try and better position the team for a better future. It doesn't mean that I'm trying to build them into a championship contender or anything. I'm just trying to steer the ship so that they're facing a better direction now. And now, this is a little bit different of a series. I'm not sure if I'm going to actually go through and complete a roster. You know what? I'm deciding right now I'm actually going to kind of do that because somebody in the comments talked about it. So you should go leave a comment. Tell me what you want to do. I've responded to every single comment on my YouTube channel so far, so go ahead and do it. But anyway, yeah, the Phoenix Suns got eliminated. Very tough season for them. This was a season where we didn't see the big three of Bradley Beal, Devin Booker, and Kevin Durant really get a fair shot to play with each other. Beal was hurt a good amount of the season. KD went down at points. Booker went down at points. These guys just really didn't play a ton of minutes together. And statistically, when they did play together, they actually played pretty good. Not in this series. The Timberwolves just had their number defensively, and they just completely outsized them. But I think there's some adjustments that could be made to at least position this team a little bit better because I really don't blame the top three at all. I know it's easy to look at Bradley Beal. He had a really bad last game, and overall he wasn't that great in the series. Anybody that's blaming Durant and Booker, I just think you're absolutely wrong. I just don't think so. And Grayson Allen was a good player. Nurkic is a very valuable player. There's things that we can do with this team to reposition themselves. They're missing the other assets, right? And that's what I want to try to tackle today to see if we can't find a better solution for this team. And for those of you that don't know, because you haven't watched the other videos, I kind of just build these little spreadsheets to help demonstrate everything. So if you guys are ever interested in these spreadsheets, shoot me a DM. I've sent these over to people before. It's just something to help me calculate things. But anyway, the Suns are in a bad situation, as you'll see here, and I'm going to zoom in on this a little bit. Here's the cap space that we're working with right now. We're currently $16 million into the second apron. And for those of you that don't know how the NBA salary cap works, in essence, there's how much cap space you have, and then there's how much money you have before you start paying luxury tax, which is tax upon the other tax you already pay your players. And the NBA's added new ways to make sure that teams don't build these super teams that last for forever. That's the whole idea with this, is now there's a first tax apron, which is an even higher tax. And then there's a second tax apron, which is even crazier, that no team wants to be in at all. You've seen so many owners be like, I'm not paying for that. I'm trading these players. I'm not paying that second tax apron. It's just too much for me. But the Phoenix Suns owner has made it pretty clear that he's like, I'm going to pay this thing. I'm trying to win basketball games right now. There's also a repeater tax, by the way. So if you stay within these tax brackets, over the years, it's compounded interest upon it. So whatever. The Phoenix Suns, dude, he's apparently got money, so we're going to let him do what it is that he does. But for now, this is kind of what we're looking at. We have no money to work with, and we've kind of got this first five that we're trying to figure out what we want to do with. Projected 2024-2025 roster. This is who they have as of right now, right? You see these guys listed here. What I have here is these are player options. These are guys that could just say, you know what? I'm out, right? And then this blue one here is a team option. So David Roddy, we have a decision to make with David Roddy. Is that somebody that we want to keep on the team? Yes, no, maybe so. That's what I'll kind of be here to help determine. We also have our list of draft picks here, which doesn't look that great. We have a first-round pick this year. It was the least favorable of a couple picks. It should be pick 22 going into this year. There's a 2024 second-round pick from the Spurs that's very heavily protected, and it doesn't look like it's going to convey this year. So we can probably just scrape that one off right now, which not good. 2026 first round pick. It's a least favorable of a bunch of things. 2026 second round pick, least favorable of a bunch of things. You get the idea. And then we've got some second round picks to work for later in this 21st century. So yeah, no, this is a gross team. But let's talk about the needs real quick, and then we'll start talking about maybe where some of the holes we can patch are. So the goal is to win a championship, right? And this team lacked a couple things. It lacked size, and it lacked someone to really like steer the ship. The point guard thing was for real. I didn't actually think that was going to be a problem this year. I was like, you've got 3 hoopers in Booker, Beal, and Durant, that it's not going to hurt you too bad that you don't have like a true point guard running this ship. But I think we need to find a way to adjust that. I think we need to try to find a way to bring in a point guard onto this roster, probably like more so like 2 or something like that, to try to at least balance out this roster a little bit more. And then we just need more consistent size, right? Like Drew Eubanks is kind of unplayable at times. He's on the team as of right now, and he's on a minimum contract, so he's a reserve big, right? He's a sizable big, and you know what? Size is hard to come by sometimes. So Drew Eubanks will be on the team next year. I know, it is what it is. We got guys like Damian Lee coming back, who I don't even think he played this whole season, and let's hope Damian Lee's okay, because Damian Lee's actually not a bad basketball player, like pretty lethal shooter, like 6'5" on the wing, so I'm happy to have Damian Lee coming back into the team next year. I think that's a good option. As far as David Roddy goes, I don't necessarily want David Roddy on the team, if I'm being honest. Shout out the Minnesota guy himself, but I think we're going to try to save ourselves some money with this one, and we're just going to cut David Roddy in this instance. I just don't think David Roddy serves the purpose. He doesn't bring us either size or necessarily like ball handling ability. He's kind of like a weird wing type that I'm not quite sure what to do with. I think he's like kind of interesting as a perspective player, but I don't really think that we need him right now. Like, we're not saving a ton of money by just not picking up a minimum contract option, right? It's just more so I'd rather give a minimum contract to somebody else. And that's what this whole offseason is really going to be about, is how can we take this team and build it into something a little bit more dynamic. And the first thing I want to explore is like a Nasir Little option here. Like, how can we move this $6.5 million of Nasir Little somewhere else using some of these other picks? And what can we take back in return? So here's what we're going to do. We're going to try to find a place to send Nasir Little. This is actually fanspo.com. They have a little trade machine that I wanted to try out. Like, I've used other trade machines before, but I wanted to try this one. Fanspo seems pretty detailed with everything. So in essence, we've got to take $6.7 million and move him somewhere else. And now Nasir Little's not very good. So we're going to have to attach some picks to him. We're going to have to find a team that doesn't care about taking on that money right now. They just want the draft capital. And I don't think we have to attach anything more than like a second round pick or two. But we're going to try to turn him into something valuable, because we can't just go out and we can't just trade Nasir Little for $6.5 million and then just have $6.5 million to go spend in free agency. That's not how it works. We're over the salary cap, so we can't do that. So we need to either trade in someone of equal value that can play right now, which would be the ideal situation, or we have to sign minimum contract players. And so I'm going to try to turn Nasir Little into something. And what I'm going to do is I'm just looking at people around his kind of salary range to see who we could even pick up and kind of go from there. So I have this sorting by the 2024-2025 season. So here's Nasir Little right there. There's guys like Peyton Pritchard, Kenny Hustle, like that'd be a great guy to bring in, but I don't think the Thunder are probably too interested in trading him right now, at least not for a guy of equal value. They'd rather just like lose the money. Like, would Sacramento give up like a Sasha Vencikov? Like, I don't know if they just do that plus a second round pick for Nasir Little. I don't know how much sense that makes. Now, this is interesting to me. How do we get Javon Carter on this team? Because the Bulls didn't use Javon Carter at all. They might be trying to blow some stuff up this season. They might be interested in more of a younger player. How can we make this work? Like, so if I go bring the Bulls in, right, they've got Javon Carter. So I want to trade him to the Suns, and I want to send Nasir Little over to the Bulls. Where do I see if this works? Oh, so the try trade button is up here. Okay, gotcha. Okay, so where are my like picks and stuff? So these are the ones that I can include. Okay, so we've got this 2024 protected one here. That one's probably not going to convey. There's definitely like more picks than this. So maybe it's not completely updated. I know this is kind of a work in progress. So let's say in theory, we are sending them this Celtics 2028 second, and maybe this Grizzlies 2028 second as well. So we're sending them 2 second round picks. They need wings anyway and like younger guys. So we're going to say that we're trying to move those guys over. And this trade is a success. Okay, Javon Carter on the team now, right? We're gonna say that that's the case now. So I can delete these 2 picks here, and I'm gonna change Nasir Little into Javon Carter. So now Nasir Little isn't here. I'm gonna move Okogie up here, And now we have Javon Carter sliding in there. And I'll adjust like rotation and everything afterwards. But that right there is a big difference, right? Now you actually have a point guard on the team that's good defensively. He can shoot the ball a little bit. He can contribute to the team. And all we lost were a couple second-round picks. And like, look, we're trying to win now anyway, right? Nasir Little wasn't contributing to this team. Wasn't worth it. Let's take a look at these other supplementary pieces on the team, right? Eric Gordon, I presume, is going to come back. Nobody's going to give him anything more than a minimum anyway, so unless he's just like, I'm going to go sign a minimum with a different team, I'm going to presume he's still on the team, and that's fine. He does some things. He's a solid offensive player. We take that. Josh Okogie's at least like a good defensive player. I'm cool with him coming back, and he's probably going to re-sign anyway, and like I said, Eubanks is just going to be our reserve big. That's just what it's going to be. I don't feel the need to trade Damian Lee either for the reasons that I said. I think he can be a good contributing piece, but we have 5 roster spots left now, right? So we've got minimum contracts that we can go use for the rest of this, and we have a first-round pick. So let's go do our first-round pick first and see where it is we want to go, and I've got a good idea of where I want to use this pick. So I'm just pulling up the most recent mock draft and just kind of going to where that pick is to see if it's realistic to be picking certain guys. This is exactly who I wanted them to pick. Yves Missy. I don't exactly know how to pronounce it, but this is exactly who I was thinking. Because I'm like, okay, bigs are a lot harder to find, especially in this free agency class. So we're going to presume with the 22nd pick, the Suns are picking Yves Missy. This helps us add some more size to the team, right? Missy, just picture him like any run, jump, and dunk center. That's what he is. He's big, he's tall, he's 7 foot 240, so big dude, right? Athletic, run, jump, and dunk type guy, kind of like Derek Lively that you see in Dallas. And I think that's the type of guy that works well with like a Booker and a Beal and Durant, right? Guys that can just go get some easy points that they can throw it up to that are going to be lob threats when they're attacking the hoop. And it's an easy way for us to add size. We don't have to go out and sign him in free agency. It's going to be a bit more money than signing a minimum contract guy, but at least this guy's going to be stuck on the team now for 4 years, right? Like we have time, we can go over the cap to go get him, so we're going to add Missy to the team. Alrighty, so there's Missy on the team, so we're going to move Eubanks down 1 spot. We're going to move our boy right up here. So now we got a decent backup center, right? Somebody that when Nurkic comes out of the game, we still got size, right? But now what I want to do with the last 4 roster spots is, one, I want to find another point guard because we need another one of those. And then we need some bigger wings. How can we find some minimum contract guys to fill in that position so Kevin Durant doesn't have to play the 4 all the time? That's what we're going to try to do. So we're going to go into free agency and try to see who's even available to make something like that happen. All right, so now I'm here on Spot Track. This is a good way to just track everybody's free agency. And so what I want to do first is address the wing. Let's go to our forwards and see who's a guy that we can go get on a minimum contract to try to help this team right away. And now we're going to be looking for a couple things. We're going to be looking for players that can play good defense, right? Some spacing wings, like just 3-and-D guys at the end of the day. One of the people that we can go get right away is Royce O'Neal, and we can actually go over the salary cap to re-sign him. And so that's probably going to be option number 1 for us because we did throw out some picks to go get Royce O'Neal this year anyway. So let's presume we're bringing him back. Let's take a look at O'Neal's stats from this year. So Royce O'Neal this year averaged 7.5 points a game, shooting 37% from 3. That was his 3-and-D value. Got us about 5 rebounds a game. So not too bad, not too bad. I would say that he could probably warrant. I don't think he's going to get $9 million. I just don't think that's the case. And we're going to presume that he wants to come back, right? I'm going to guess that we can get. Ooh, let's go over here so you guys don't have to see my background stuff. I'm going to say that we can go in and bring in Royce O'Neal for about $5 million is what I'm thinking right here. And we're going to say that we're giving him a 2-year contract with maybe like a player option or something so that he has some security in case he plays like ass this year, right? Like that's kind of what we're hoping for him. And so now we can throw Royce in here for the time being. All right, so 3 roster spots left. Let's attack the point guard position next because I think that's going to be important for us. Not guard, I want specifically point guard. And now Kyle Lowry's an interesting one. Are you going to be able to convince him to do a minimum contract on the Suns? Hard to say. I'd be inclined to say probably no. Russell Westbrook's going to be available. Does he want to come team up with Durant? Is that even a guy that you want necessarily on the team? That's a tough one to say. Patrick Beverley. he's just always going and signing with teams like this. I could see that being an interesting option. So two of the guys I'm looking at right here are Chris Dunn and DeLon Wright. And now I know these aren't like sexy names or anything, but look, we don't have a ton of options. It's minimum contract guys. That's all we can get. And I can't really trade anybody to go do these things because, like, I don't think it's worth trading Nurkic for a point guard. I'd rather just have Nurkic at center. Grayson Allen's too valuable of a shooter to not have on this team, so I'm keeping him around. So we need to go out and find minimum contract dudes that can be more impactful. And so, like, Aaron Holiday's another one that's kind of interesting because I think his potential could kind of be unlocked a little bit more with the right team. But I'm looking at like a Chris Dunn or something like that. And now DeLon Wright's been really good for Miami, but I just never trust anybody that's on Miami once they leave that team. I just always think they're going to get worse again. So I'm going to presume that we're going after Chris Dunn because he's such a lockdown defensive player. And I think having him on the team, bringing a little bit of energy off the bench, a little bit more sizable of a guard, right? He's like 6'2", 6'3", maybe even taller. How tall is Chris Dunn? 6'3", 205. We'll absolutely take that. So I'm going to presume that we're bringing in Chris Dunn here on a minimum contract. All right, we're going to slap his money in there. Okay. Oh my gosh, this team's paying so much money. But we got to fill out the roster, right? I need minimum contract dudes. So let's... I know I have Beal at the point guard right now. I'm going to throw Chris Dunn here for now. I'll leave it up to you guys to tell me what the rotation should be, honestly. Like, just because, like, this is the best five that we have, right? Like, this is a closing lineup, if nothing else. But at least now there's point guard options, right? And good ones on the team. So I at least like this, right? And maybe you can make an argument that Devin Booker should be here and Beal should be there, or Grayson Allen. I don't know. You tell me what positions make sense. But we've got point guard options on the team. Now, Javon Carter's definitely a rotational player. Like, the Bulls criminally underused him this year. So I love having him on the team. I think that makes a lot of sense. Chris Dunn, you can throw out, get some defensive stops. I like that he's basically a guard version of a Kogi. So I like having that on the team. Let's use the last two roster spots to try and bring a little bit more size. So I'm going to go back to like the forward spot here. And one of the names that was like kind of interesting to me was like a Doug McDermott, because Doug McDermott's probably just going to get a minimum contract this next year. Is it worth bringing in a guy like that who's 6'8" and maybe not the best defender in the world, but such a lethal shooter just to kind of have around the rest of these guys? I kind of seem to think so. I think Dougie McBuckets would fit well in Phoenix. So I kind of want to bring in Doug McDermott because, like, let's think about a possible rotation for that. But that doesn't necessarily free up the 4 spot, though, does it? Let me think about that just a little bit more even. Ooh, actually, I like this name a lot. I like the idea of bringing in Torrey Craig here. Because Torrey Craig, I feel a little bit more comfortable throwing him at like the 4. He's a little bit more physical. Now, he has a player option with Chicago. And I'm just going to be honest, I don't see him wanting to come back here. Like, what would be the point or anything? Like, he's not going to get more than a minimum contract either. But I bet you at this point in his career, he'd rather just play for a championship team. And he played really well the last time he was in Phoenix. So I'm going to say that we're bringing in both Torrey Craig and Doug McDermott. Doug McDermott to be a spacing option, right? And to bring in a little more size, 6'8" on the wing. And then Torrey Craig as well, being like 6'7", good defensive wing, 3-and-D guy. We're going to bring in those two guys, and we're going to round out the rotation there. Alrighty, let's get this contract amount in. These are both 1-year deals. So now we've got options of, and I'm just going to throw them here. We're going to throw Dougie McBuckets in there, and we're going to throw Torrey Craig. Well, it'd probably be in a different order, right? It'd probably be more so like Torrey Craig here, and then Doug McDermott, and then sure, Josh Okogie here. So that's more so what it's going to look like. This is an idea of what this roster could look like. It'll be extremely expensive. You try to rebuild this roster and have it not be expensive, though. But that's not my money. That's the owner's money going out the door. But what have we done now? Now, again, mix up these 3 with these guards, however it is you want to do it. But we now have options at point guard. We have Javon Carter that can actually come in and be like a controlled, stable presence, somebody that can play full court defense. That's awesome. Chris Dunn, mostly just out there to play defense and have energy. Not sure if he'll be a rotational piece or not, but it's another option at point guard. You still got guys like Eric Gordon on the team that you can evaluate with Damian Lee. Damian Lee obviously brings a little more size and defensive presence, been a little more consistent shooter over the last couple of years, but we'll see how he does coming back from injury. We've updated the forward position, right? Like, we have Royce O'Neal coming back, which is awesome, but we also have Torrey Craig and Doug McDermott to go to. Now, Doug McDermott's been a lethal shooter his entire career. He's 6'8", so he's got some good size. Torrey Craig, been on the Suns before. He knows these dudes, and he can come in, and I guess a lot of these Suns players aren't the same ones, but he knows Booker, right? But he can come in, play some defense, shoot the 3 ball a little bit, right? He's a win-now type player. And then we even brought in some youth in Yviz Missy to come in when Nurkic isn't on the floor and just be a run, jump, and dunk energy guy. Now, if there's one thing that I don't like about this team is that I wasn't able to get more youth onto it. I would have liked to have gotten some more youth on the wings, but I think these were really our best options. Like, if I look at like other players out there just weren't really a ton that were out there and available for us to go get. So I'm not exactly sure who I would have brought in that wasn't more valuable than just having like a knockdown shooter and a good defender in these two guys. But I like that we were able to use the draft pick and turn it into something a little bit more valuable right now for us, and a guy that we can develop along the way. Like, he has a simple skill set. It's run, jump, dunk, and block shots. But like, that's kind of all you need on this team out of a reserve big. So we've got that. We've got length on the court now that we can throw out with these combination of guys. Got some ball handlers, got some shooters. You guys let me know what you think about this. This is the best that I can think of right now of what to do with this team. I really don't think you have to break up the big three. I really don't think you do. These are three of the best just like hoopers in the NBA. I do think they should get rid of Frank Vogel. I don't want to call for anyone's job. That sounds rude, but if you're asking me to optimize the team, I'd say that's probably the best case. I just thought the offense didn't make much sense, and defensively, like, they just didn't have a ton of defensive talent, so that just is what it is. But I don't know. I just didn't think they performed that great this year. Despite all the injuries and everything, they still just kind of looked clunky out of there. So this is what I'm thinking for next season. You guys let me know what you think. I'll be doing videos like this whenever a team gets eliminated, so you guys will have to let me know what you think of this series and everything. But as always, appreciate you guys for watching. Leave me a comment. I want to hear you guys' comments, and we'll talk to you guys later. Bye.